Dan Blocker really hated him more than anyone else. Dan Blocker was born as Bobby Dan Davis Blocker on December 10, 1928 in a town called DeKalb, Texas. He grew up in the rough hills of Texas where working hard, staying humble, and caring about family were the most important things in life. From the time he was very young, he had an amazing mix of being really strong and also being very kind, things that would later make him perfect for his most famous TV role. Before he became famous, Dan Blocker lived a life that showed honesty, never giving up, and helping others. He was 6 feet 4 inches tall and weighed about 300 pounds, making him a gentle giant even when he was young. His parents owned a small shop in a town called O'Donnell, Texas, and working there taught him how important it was to work hard and help your neighbors. Blocker went to Texas Military Institute and later to Sul Ross State Teachers College, where he did really well in school and also became known as a great football player. His sports skills and his drive to succeed made other students respect him, and he finished college with a degree in English and later got a master's degree in drama and theater. These early years gave him discipline and a love for what he did that would shape his whole life, both personal and work life. Before getting into the entertainment business, Blocker proudly served his country. During the Korean War, he was drafted into the United States Army and worked as an infantry sergeant. His time in the military taught him to really respect sacrifice, being a leader, and having courage. He often said his experiences in the war helped shape how he saw the world and made him better at understanding and caring about other people. People who knew him during this time said he was a man with strong values, someone who had a quiet strength and real kindness that never went away even when dealing with the tough realities of war. After his time in the military, Blocker went back to Texas and worked as a teacher, sharing his love for books and history with students before life eventually led him toward becoming an actor. Dan Blocker's start in Hollywood wasn't quick or easy, but his hard work eventually paid off. In the late 1950s, he started getting small roles in TV shows like The Rifleman, Gunsmoke, and The Restless Gun. His natural charm combined with his big, impressive size quickly got the attention of the people who chose actors for shows. In 1959, his life changed completely when he got the role of Hoss Cartwright in Bonanza. This role would not only define what he did for work, but also turn him into one of the most loved characters in TV history. Hoss, the big-hearted middle son of the Cartwright family, was just like Dan Blocker was in real life. Gentle, funny, caring, and always doing the right thing. Viewers immediately loved Hoss's warmth and down-to-earth nature, and Blocker's acting gave the show an emotional side that balanced out all the action and adventure. Bonanza became one of the most successful TV shows ever made, running for 14 seasons from 1959 to 1973. Blocker appeared in 415 episodes before he sadly died too young in 1972. And during all that time, he became a legendary figure on American television. His character stood out not for being the fastest shooter or the toughest cowboy, but for being human and decent. Critics and fans both praised Blocker for bringing real feeling to the Western genre, often showing Hoss as the emotional center of the show. Behind the scenes, his co-stars, including Lorne Greene, Michael Landon, and Pernell Roberts, really admired him, calling him the moral compass of the cast and a man who never let being famous change who he was. Dan Blocker's marriage to Dolphia Parker Blocker is remembered as one of the most beautiful and lasting love stories in Hollywood history. Their relationship showed loyalty, staying humble, and deep love in an industry that's usually known for relationships that don't last long. The couple's connection started long before Dan became famous. They met while both were students at Sul Ross State University in Alpine, Texas, where Dan was going to college and Dolphia was also involved in the college community. Right from the start, their relationship was built on things they both valued: respect, kindness, and truly liking the simple things in life. While many couples in show business got together because of glamour or wanting to be successful, Dan and Dolphia built their relationship on really understanding each other and the comfort of knowing their hearts were safe with each other. They got married in 1952, years before Dan Blocker became a famous name through his legendary role as Eric Hoss Cartwright on Bonanza. The wedding was simple, just like the couple themselves, two people deeply in love, starting a life together with not much more than hope and determination. At that time, Dan was still a struggling actor and teacher, working different jobs to support his young family. Dolphia stayed by his side without ever wavering, giving him encouragement and stability when the future seemed uncertain. Her quiet strength and patience gave Dan the confidence to chase his dreams, even when success seemed really far away. It was a partnership built not on fame or money, but on having faith in each other's potential and believing together that love could get them through any hard time. As Dan's acting career started to take off in the late 1950s and eventually became huge with Bonanza in 1959, Dolphia stayed his steady rock. She never wanted the spotlight or attention for herself, choosing instead to focus on their home and children. While Dan was on set for long hours filming the beloved Western show, Dolphia kept their family grounded, making sure that their children grew up surrounded by love, normal life, and strong moral values. Friends and co-workers often said that despite his fame, Dan Blocker stayed remarkably humble and focused on family, and much of that was because of Dolphia's quiet influence. She was the person he confided in, his emotional center, and the person who reminded him of who he truly was beyond the fame and success. Their marriage also gave them 4 children, twin sons David and Dirk, and daughters Deborah Lee and Dana Lynn. The Blocker home was known for its warmth and laughter, and Dan often said his wife was the one who kept that sense of balance. Even as his fame grew bigger, he refused to let Hollywood change the way he treated his wife or family. He often spoke with deep love for Dolphia, describing her as his greatest blessing and the love of his life. Theirs was a marriage that made it through the ups and downs of fame, long working hours, and the pressures of being in the public eye. Yet, it never weakened. Dan's deep devotion to Dolphia was well known among his peers. He would often rush home after shooting rather than go to industry parties, preferring to spend quiet evenings with his wife and children. In the world of television westerns, few shows were as beloved as Bonanza. For over 10 years, it captured the hearts of America with its stories of the Cartwright family, led by Father Ben and his 3 sons, Adam, Haas, and Little Joe. Behind the scenes, however, not everything was as peaceful as it seemed on screen. While Bonanza showed the image of a close-knit frontier family, the real-life relationships among the cast were sometimes far more complicated. Among those, perhaps the most tense and emotionally charged was the one between Dan Blocker, who played the kind-hearted giant Eric Haas Cartwright, and Pernell Roberts, the intense and intellectual actor who played Adam Cartwright. Dan Blocker, known for his warm, friendly nature and deep sense of loyalty to his co-workers, rarely felt bad feelings toward anyone. A Texas-born former teacher and soldier, Blocker was a man of principles who valued teamwork and respect. Yet, even he found it hard to get along with Pernell Roberts. The tension between them wasn't about big egos or fighting for more screen time. It was about having completely different personalities and values. Roberts was famously outspoken, often criticizing Bonanza's scripts and direction, which he thought were shallow and formulaic. He wanted deeper storylines that challenged social norms, and he wasn't afraid to voice his frustrations loudly on set. Blocker, who believed in professionalism and loyalty to the show that made them famous, took Roberts's constant criticism personally. In one interview, Blocker once said, "Pernell thought he was smarter than the rest of us. And maybe he was, but that didn't give him the right to treat people like fools." He added that working with Roberts could be like walking on eggshells since Roberts often refused to rehearse lines he thought were poorly written or beneath him. Blocker, who prided himself on being easygoing and cooperative, found such behavior disrespectful to the cast and crew. He would often say, "We're a family on this set, and a family doesn't tear each other down in front of outsiders." The philosophical divide between the two men only got deeper as the seasons went on. Roberts wanted out of the series, feeling creatively trapped. Blocker, on the other hand, loved Bonanza and saw it as a rare opportunity to bring positive, wholesome entertainment to American homes. Roberts's dislike for the show's commercial success clashed sharply with Blocker's gratitude for it. Pernell thought Bonanza was too simple, too moral, too good-natured, Blocker once said. But that's what people needed, a little goodness in their lives. He couldn't see that. Despite their differences, both actors shared a deep commitment to being real in their performances. Roberts was a classically trained actor who approached each role with intensity, while Blocker relied on instinct and sincerity. The clash between intellect and heart became a symbol of their relationship and of the creative tension that fueled Bonanza itself. Behind the scenes, their arguments were sometimes heated but never violent. Yet Blocker's dislike for Roberts was well known among cast members. Michael Landon, who played Little Joe, once recalled that Dan tried to stay patient, but Pernell had a way of pushing people past their limits. When Roberts finally left Bonanza in 1965, Blocker reportedly felt both relief and sadness. "I never wished him ill," he said in an interview years later. "But I was glad to stop fighting." The departure restored peace on the set, and Blocker's good humor returned in full. Still, he couldn't completely let go of his resentment. He was a brilliant man, Blocker admitted, but he made everyone around him miserable. You can't build anything good out of bitterness. Ironically, time softened the edges of Blocker's anger. After leaving the show, Roberts pursued theater and stage work, continuing to speak out on social issues he cared deeply about. Though Blocker never made peace with him personally before his own untimely death in 1972, he reportedly spoke of Roberts with a kind of weary respect in his later interviews. Maybe he was right to want more, Blocker once reflected, but he forgot to be thankful for what he already had. Their relationship remains one of the most fascinating behind-the-scenes dynamics in television history. A clash between two talented men who loved their craft, but couldn't bridge the gap between their opposing views of what it meant to be an artist. Dan Blocker's frustration with Pernell Roberts wasn't rooted in hatred alone, but in disappointment. Disappointment that someone he admired for his intelligence and talent could also be so cold, critical, and distant. In the end, Blocker's legacy was one of warmth, generosity, and friendship, while Roberts's was one of independence and defiance. Both men left an unforgettable mark on Bonanza. But it was Blocker's big heart and his honest words that continue to connect with fans decades later. As Blocker once summed it up in his straightforward way, you don't have to like everybody you work with, but you should at least try to respect them. Pernell never gave us that chance. On May 13, 1972, the world was shocked by the unexpected and heartbreaking death of beloved actor Dan Blocker. Best known for his unforgettable portrayal of Eric Haas Cartwright on the long-running television western Bonanza. At only 43 years old, Blocker's passing in Englewood, California, left a deep hole not only in the entertainment industry, but also in the hearts of millions of devoted fans who had come to admire his warmth, humor, and humanity both on and off the screen. The official cause of death was a pulmonary embolism, a sudden and fatal blockage of an artery in the lungs, which tragically developed following what had been expected to be a routine gallbladder surgery at Daniel Freeman Memorial Hospital. According to reports at the time, Blocker had entered the hospital for a standard medical procedure, something that neither he nor his doctors thought was life-threatening. However, following the operation, complications happened when a blood clot formed and traveled to his lungs, cutting off his oxygen supply and leading to cardiac arrest. The news was confirmed by his family and later detailed by news outlets which reported sadly, Blocker went into the hospital for gallbladder surgery, developed a blood clot in his lung, and died. This simple statement captured the shocking suddenness of his passing, an event that seemed almost impossible to believe given Blocker's image as a strong, larger-than-life figure whose good-natured spirit had come to symbolize the moral heart of Bonanza. His death was not only a devastating personal loss for his wife Dolphia Parker Blocker and their 4 children, David, Deborah, Dana, and Dirk Blocker, the latter following in his father's footsteps as an actor, but also a moment of mourning for his extended Bonanza family. The cast and crew, including Lorne Greene, Michael Landon, and Pernell Roberts, were said to be deeply affected. Greene, who played patriarch Ben Cartwright, reportedly broke down upon hearing the news, calling it the end of an era. Michael Landon, who had been especially close to Blocker, was heartbroken and later rewrote parts of Bonanza to reflect the profound loss of his dear friend and co-star.